Welcome. Today we are going to write an application which has a login screen, a registration screen, and then finally a dashboard. Now the user is going to register, which comprises of the username, the phone number, the name, the phone number, the username, and the password. He's then going to log in using the username and the password, and then finally he will log into the dashboard, which will display all the registered users for him to see. So welcome, and let's begin. The first thing I'll do is I'll go and create the root folder for my work. So I'll click on add folders, I'll click into my htdocs, and then I'll create a new file here, simply call it student. So let me rename it again because I already have students there, so I'll call it students with an S so that they can distinguish between that and that. I would log in. Great. So I've added the student file here. I'm going to create 3 files in them. The first file I'm going to create is the index file. This will serve as my login screen. I'm going to create another file called dashboard. This will be the view when the user logs in. Then I'll create my final one called registration. They are all PHP files, so I'll add the .php to it. Now I'm going to click on registration. I'm going to click on registration. In my registration, I'm going to type my HTML tags. In there, I'm going to give a head tag. And my head tag is going to have a title that says registration / welcome. Then I'm going to have a body tag. Simply in my body tag, I'm going to have a h1 tag to welcome the person or the user. So welcome to student registration. And then I'm going to have a p tag I'm going to have a p tag. So p tag, please fill in the form below to register. Full stop. From then on, I'm going to start my registration process. So I have a form tag, I have my close form tag. In here I have the method of which I'm going to send my data as a post. I have the action set to hash so that all the data would be sent here. And then in here I'm going to write my PHP tags, which would involve my HTML tags for the inputs on my form. So I have input, type, text, the name value is going to be full name, the ID value is going to be full name, the ID value is going to be full name, and my placeholder is going to be enter full name slash close. I'll have a BR, I'll have another input, type is equal to text, the name value is equal to phone number, and of course I have my ID value also being equal to phone number, my placeholder being equal to enter phone. I'll make sure they are both required, so here I'll call it required, and I'll also make here required so that the users are forced to enter data there. I'll have another BR, and then in here I'll have the next input for my username. So I'll just quickly copy this so I can be a bit fast. I'll have another BR here, and I'll use this for my password. So I'll paste that one to there, do a bit of house cleaning, make sure everything is in line. So here I will have my input as text. Sorry, I didn't put these in quotes. Sorry. And then here I have my username as username, my ID as username, and then of course here I'll say please enter username. Okay, and then here my type is also text, but I'm using a phone number, a password, so I'll make it password so that it is hidden. That means my phone number here is also password, and then here it's also going to be password. Of course, finally here I'll make it password. Now finally I'm supposed to add a button so that when the user clicks on, he or she can log in. So input type is equal to submit. The name value of it is submit. The ID value of it is submit. The value of it is submit over capital S. And of course I can bring my slash and then I close. Good. So this is what I have on my screen for my code for my registration page. Now quickly I have to start my XAMPP and then check to see if everything is okay on my browser. So I'll click on the XAMPP. I would start Apache and start my SQL. Then after I have started Apache and my SQL, I would open my browser and type localhost/students over this. Now this brings me to the index page, and of course we've typed nothing there, but I want to go to the registration page, so I'll add registration.php, and this is what I have. So I have a username, phone number, password, and then that. And I have my submit button here, which is great. The next thing I'm going to do is open the database, which is localhost/phpMyAdmin. And then create a new database. So here I'm going to call it CS students. I'll click the create button to create my database, so I can see it here as CS students. I want to create a table called student, which has 6 fields. So I have the log, which I'll use as the key. I have the full name, the phone number, the username, and the password. And of course, the log is an auto increment key. The full name is of character, and I'm going to make it 50. The phone number is of character, and I'm going to make it 10. The username is also of character, and I'm going to make it 50. Let's make it 20. And of course, well, let's make it 50, just in case. And then of course, the password is of varchar, and I'm going to make it 70. Okay. So after that, I'll just click on the save button to save my work. So then I've just created a database called CS students, and then my student table is here. So now I have to move this information here into the database. So what I will do is I would go back to my code. Underneath the form tag, I will start my PHP tags there. First of all, I'll make sure that this code is running only on the clicking of the submit button. So I'll say if is set into bracket $_post, because the method of sending is post. Then we're going to say submit. So when the submit button is set, the following things should be done. First of all, a full name variable is created, and then the information that is in the post variable, full name, will be collected and given to it. That is this name here, full name. The same thing will be done for phone number. So I have phone number _post phone. The same thing would be done for username $_post that username. And then finally, $password $_post password. Okay, so these are the information I'm pushing to the database. Now I must prepare my SQL statement. So I'll put it in a variable, and the SQL statement I want to write is this statement here. So I'll copy it, and I'll bring it to my code here. So I'm saying SQL is equal to insert into that, and then these information here. So this is what I want to insert into my SQL statement. Insert into the student table, log first name, that. But log is an auto increment, so I don't have to enter anything there. So here I have in double quotes full name, comma, in double quotes phone number, comma, in double quotes username, comma, in double quotes password. So the variables I collected from my screen, that is the variables I collected from here, these entries, would be put into PHP variables here. Remember, the $ means it's a variable. Or PHP, we don't deal with type. And then I can easily put them into their various sections, so that this one goes with this goes with that goes with that goes with that. So I'll finish writing my SQL statement. I'm going to make it into one long line so that it works well with my code. And then here I'm going to say result is equal to my SQL I underscore query. Now this is the method that we use to send information into our database, or to query or ask our database question. Now this takes two pieces of information. One, our connection to the database, and the second one is our SQL statement. We have our SQL statement here, but we do not have the connection to the database. So I'll go to the top of my code, write PHP tags there, and then I'll create the connection to my database, which will take 4 variables. The first one is the host of my database, which is localhost. The second one is the username of my database, which is root. The third one is the password to my database, which I don't have one. And then the last one is the database name itself, in which we called our database CS students. Was it CS students or CS student? It was CS students, so there's an S. So here we add an S. Of course, now we have to write the connection code itself, which our connection code is equal to my SQL I underscore connect. Now let's remember that my SQL I underscore connect takes some information. It actually takes 4, and luckily for us we have already prepared them here, which are the host name, the username, the password, and the actual database we are logging in. So the host name to us dates our database, the username, the password, and the database name. And luckily for us, we created all of them here as variables, so we can just slot them in here nicely. So it means now we have our connection to the database, in which we called connect here. Let me just call it connection here, so that it tallies with the one down here as connection. So it means our statement has now gone to our database. Now I'm going to write an if statement here. So if result, because result returns either a true or false, if result is true, it means that the data has been successfully loaded into our database. So I'm going to say echo registration successful. else echo registration unsuccessful. So if this piece of code runs, it will give me true or false. That will be put inside result. So if result is true, then my registration is successful. If it is not, then my registration is unsuccessful. So let's test out our code and see. So it means that once we run, we expect to see some values in the browse here. So I would refresh my screen. My username is Mark Mensah. My phone number is this. My username is going to be enter. My password is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I am going to submit this, and it says registration successful. And when I come here and I click on browse again, I'll see my data has been added to my database for me. So we can see here that the data I require, when I click on CS students and student, it is already loaded here for me. So the first half of my code has been successful. Now I have to focus on the second section of my code, which deals with me checking if this user actually exists and logging him in. So I'll come back to my code. Now before I leave here, sorry, I clicked a video by mistake. Before I leave here, I am going to create a button here. So a href, and I'm going to say go to login.php. And when do we go to login.php? If I have an account. So if I have an account, then it means I should go to login.php. Very simple. So refresh here again. No, I don't want the data to go to the database again, so I'll clean this. I have an account, I click on it, I'm here. Oh, sorry, we used index for the login information, so I'll change it to index. So at index, it means I have to create my information for the user to log in. So of course I need most of the things here. So I'm going to copy everything here, paste everything here again, but this time I don't need the username and the first name and phone number. And of course here is not registration, it is going to be login. Here I'll still welcome to student registration. Please fill the form below to log in. Okay, and then here I do not have an account. So it means if you do not have an account, we should take you to registration.php very quickly. So it means on my page, when I open my index page, this is what I should see. So I should see welcome to student registration. Please fill in the form below to login. You have username, you have password, and then you submit to login. And if you have an account, if you do not have an account, you click here to come here to create an account, and if you do, you click it back to login. Very simple. So now I can log my user in. So again, I need this statement here to make sure that the following code would be run only when I click on the submit button. And I do not need the first two because they do not belong in this page, or they are not there. So that. And then here, I do need an SQL statement, but not this one, because this one is an insert statement. That means that it will insert data into my database. And of course, if my query runs, I wouldn't say registration successful. I would say something else here, and if it is not successful, I'll say something else here so I can remove them. So I have this skeleton here where I can now fill it. So if the button is clicked on, we'll do this. And where this is, first of all, we'll get the username and the password from our form and give it to the username variable and the password variable. Now I must write my SQL statement to go and get the information if it is inside the database or if it is not inside the database. So I'll click here and then I'll have to check. So I'll write my SQL statement here, which is select star from the student table where the username is equal to what the user will type, and at the same time the password is equal to what the person will type. So this is my SQL statement, and I'll bring my SQL statement into my SQL variable, or assign it to my SQL variable. Now this section here should be the usernames because we left it open there. So when the username types in this, then we should do something. Now this here is also going to be for the password, so the password will come in here. Now before I run this statement, let me quickly just comment this out and let's see how our SQL statement is going to be written using the PHP. So I'll put an echo here so that we can see what it does in our code. I'll run it here. So my username is enter, my password is 123456. I would submit, and then we'll see here that we have select star from students where the username is equal to enter, what we typed, and the password is equal to 123456, what we also typed. That's very good. So now we can come back to our code and complete it. So the statement would run here, and when it runs here, our statement will run here. Now if it runs and it is successful, then we have to do some things here. So if it comes in here, then it means that it runs successfully, our SQL statement. If it comes here, then it means it didn't run successfully. So if it didn't run successfully, it is not because the user is not in the system or not. It just didn't run the SQL statement successfully. So here we can just echo invalid. Invalid check server. Okay, so that the user knows that, oh, there's a problem, it couldn't run into our database, it couldn't run the query. Now if it does here, I'm going to run another statement which I'm going to put in a variable called count, and I'm going to say my SQL I underscore num underscore rows. So my SQL I underscore num rows would count the number of rows I get. What I mean is that when I run this statement here, I'm supposed to get some row count, a row count, or if the user actually exists. So if I press go here, oh sorry, I made a mistake here. I made two codes, sorry. I'll have my total row count here being equal to 1. So it means that this user was found, and we can see that the user information was found based on the username and the password at the same time. So they are both highlighted as solid. Now if I come back to my code, my SQL num rows will take the query we ran and check to see how many rows did it give me. And if it gave me something that is not equal to 0, or to be specific, equal to 1, that means that the user exists. So it means that the user exists, and I can redirect that person to the dashboard. So I'll use the header method to redirect the user using location semicolon dashboard .php. So this will redirect the user to the dashboard. Now, if it was unsuccessful or it got a count of 0, then it means the person is not a member of our system. So here we can just say echo incorrect username and password. So he is not a member of or he's not registered, he's not a member of us. So if I run this code here again, sorry, let me remove this, refresh. If I enter, let's say SQLT, and then I enter this, it should tell us that it is incorrect. This person is not a member of our system. Now, if he is a member of our system, which I enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I click on submit, he is, so it brings me to the dashboard. So I'm at the dashboard now. So my user can register, he can log in now. So now at the dashboard, as I said, we are supposed to show the user a table of information about registered users. So here I'm going to dashboard. I would copy the code here again to give me some quick time because of our time. And then in here, of course, I don't need any of these things in here. So I'm going to remove it. Just leave the H1 and the P tag. And I'll say, welcome to registration again. And here there's no form to watch. But here there will be a table here. So I'll just give the user instructions as to the table. The table below shows registered users. Full stop. So here the table below will show us registered users. So now I have to write a table here. So I have table, and I have closed table. And of course, my first row, that's table row, I have closed table row. And of course, I will have 5 columns. So I'll have my first table data column would be number. Let me use the hashtag to represent number. And then my second table data column would be full name. Let me close table data. And then my third one would be a phone number. Let me close phone number. My third one would be username. And of course, there's no need to show people's passwords, so we wouldn't show the password. So we have 4. Okay, that's fine. So after that, the second column of the table data would be where we would be keeping our information. So here is where all our information would be. Okay, so if I come back to my form now and I refresh my student registration page, I would see this. Now, of course, it doesn't look like a table because the borders are not showing. So let me just quickly come to the table and add an attribute for border and make it 1 so that I would see the border lines of my table. So this is what I have. So I have this table here and it is waiting for the data to fill it and then grow below here. Now to do that, again, I would start my PHP code here. So PHP here. And I would I'll write my first statement, which would be my SQL statement, to go and pick the information I need. And in this case, I need to go and select everything from the students table now that I have my SQL statement, I must execute my SQL statement. So result is equal to my SQL I underscore query into bracket connect comma, and then my SQL statement. Now my SQL statement has been run. It has been run. So now I have to go and pick the data one by one from the database rows and place them into my application. So I'm going to use the while statement and say while row is equal to my SQL I underscore fetch underscore by association. So with this, it will fetch the various elements in which I want by association. By association means that it will be fetching them based on their field names. So here we have log, full name, phone number, username, and password. This is how it will be fetching the data for me. And it is fetching them based on the statement I ran, which is contained inside result. So whilst there are rows being given to the row variable I created here, then this statement should continue. That's great, but this statement being continued, what is it continuing to? It should continue and fill my table. And this is the table information I want filled, so I have to put that information here. But this is HTML code. So as we know, PHP is an embedded language, so I can put a closed PHP tag here, and then I can put an open PHP tag here, so that I know that I am starting from here, I am ending here, but between them, I'll be repeating this action over and over again while there are rows to be counted. So here, I can then write a PHP code to echo out the rows one by one. So while this row would contain the information for log, as you can see, I am picking that information on that row by association using what? The name of the field, which I mean, when I say field, I mean this one, the log here. So the next one will be full name, phone number, and then what? Username. So I'll have fetch by association, full name, fetch by association, username, fetch by association, sorry, here's the phone number, sorry, go ahead of myself, then fetch by association, username. Great. So with this, when I come back to my code again, I refresh my screen, I can see the data entered into my database here. Of course, every user must have the ability to log out. So I'll create an A tag. I'll put href index.php, and I'll say click here to log out. So I'll come back to my screen, refresh, and I can click here to log out. I'm here, I go here, I create a new user, call him Yao, call here, give him another number, give him a username called root, give him a password, and then submit. I have an account, so I can log in. Any user who logs in can see all the registration information, so it really doesn't matter. So I can log in again, and when I log in now, I should see two users now, one Mark and one Yao. So everything works perfectly. Everything works well, and our system is complete. Again, today we just wanted to see how we can put data into our database, take data from our database, and then just log in and then display the information from our database. Please try this. When we come to class, we would continue from there, and thank you. Goodbye.